Now, in the past, I referred to my shop as my Pine Scented Oasis. It's a place I come to unwind from the day. So it's also like my Zen place. Like it's where I go to unwind. And for that to be the place I come to unwind, it needs to be in order. And when it's not in order, it's very, very hard to deal with. So today we're going to take a look at some things we need to do to kind of put everything back in a proper home. So I can come in here and relax and not be stressed out. So we're going to look at my shop. It's a good time to review. It's been about 3 years now since I've started the shop. So we can see what works and what hasn't worked in those 3 years. So let's take a look. Okay, over here in this area, I have my pegboards. I have some shelf storage. My cabinets over here. This has kind of become a catch-all. Like it really doesn't serve a purpose. The only thing predictable on the thing is my stereo, my cup of pen things, the heater, which, I mean, I could move in the summer. I mean, it's July now, and that's speakers that I use to plug in my phone to listen to music, and I keep the container that has my sharpening stones in it. Really, everything else just becomes like total free-for-all. I want to get rid of these shelves. They do nothing but really collect dust. Storage is, could be better. I would like to put in base cabinets here with drawers. And one of the things I would like to do down the road is have a drawer that would come out that would actually lock out and be kind of maybe my sharpening station. I could just push the drawer back in. The pegboard works for the most part. I'm not a big fan of the pegboard. The pegboard over here does an okay job. The router bits could be moved, a couple other things. The squares work there. This used to work really well, this pegboard, but as more and more stuff went up on it, I got veneer hanging from here, my dado stack, just saws. It just became a catch-all, and it's not really organized. So I'd like to pull that completely down, keep what works, get rid of what doesn't work. Okay, this is a cabinet I built. It's one of the first projects I ever built. And I like the cabinet. I mean, it's simple. I made it out of poplar. I think it's Luan. It's nothing fancy. But it's a pretty well-built cabinet, and it works really well. But it can be organized. Just kind of has become sort of another catch-all. Certain things that should be in it have been thrown in with stuff that's hard to get. You know, I got some planes in here, my block plane, my new knife's in there. Spoke shaves are just kind of thrown up there. When I had 10 things in there, or 15 things, it wasn't really too bad. It was manageable. But, I don't know, it's just sort of become a catch-all. And I think I can maybe utilize the space better. Another problem is I don't really have plane storage. So all my planes are just kind of thrown up here. They're hard to get. You know, they're hard to get down if I have to get one behind it. I don't know of a simple solution yet for that. But that's one of the things I want to address. Okay, so I bought a couple things that I thought would help me organize the shop. One of my biggest complaints is everything is kind of strewn about, and there really is no dedicated place for stuff. And for me, I need dedicated space. So these containers are different sizes, but they are meant to all be kind of stackable. So I bought a bunch of those and figured they'd be good. They have lids, so the stuff in them, dust will stay off of them. And I could stack them up on that shelf and down below. So I figured that would really help organize. Another thing I needed is more pegboard hardware. So I got some of that to hopefully organize this area better. One of the things I also got is this giant bin here. Is all my hardware, my screws, my nuts, my screws, nails, basically that kind of, you know, stuff. It's just all thrown in here. It's very haphazard. It's hard to get. I got to bring the whole thing down, sift through it, find what I need, throw everything back in the thing. So I got one of these storage things, and at least that'll allow me to hold my most common used stuff. And while I was there, I also picked up, there's 3 little baskets here, and figured it'd be good to hold like maybe a glue bottle or something like that, or, you know, tape measure. These, my bench stops that I use and stuff, could go right in there. So I bought a couple things like that. So let's go ahead and kind of implement some of this stuff. Let's start over here with the pegboard. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I want to do pretty much all this. A couple things I do like about this is the tape things sort of work. I mean, we could find a better solution. But I mean, that kind of works. I don't see myself really changing it. I also like having my chisels here right now until they're moved into a permanent tool cabinet. But what I need to do is I need to allow now for the 2 new sizes. And I bought stuff to do that. So that has to be accounted for. I like having my hammer here. I want room for a larger mallet too, which maybe I'll make here. I'd like a little better storage for my sterret. Here is okay, but if it was something wood, that wouldn't, you know, I don't like the metal on metal. It's kind of been a catch-all. Most of this stuff can be moved, but just a lot of the stuff just doesn't need to be here anymore. So I think the best approach would be to go ahead and pull everything down off this board and then reorganize it. Pull it. This is my assistant, Reese. Say hello, Reese.
Hi.
Reese is my niece. She likes coming out to the shop and helping me do stuff out here. And so she's gonna, you like to clean, right? Mm-hmm. A kid that likes to clean. Who figured? But she really likes it, and she's gonna help me straighten up my shop. Right? Mm-hmm. What kind of tools do you like of mine, too?
I like the planes up there.
The planes? This one?
Mm-hmm.
You like that one?
Mm-hmm.
And she likes planes. Oh, girl after my own heart. You like the small one the best, right? This one? Mm-hmm. Is that the one? My block plane. Yeah, that's more your size. Maybe we'll get to make a plane your size. What do you think? Cool. Okay, so what I was thinking is I'm going to hang this up down here, right? So I don't want it to become a catch-all. So what I'm going to do to keep it from being a catch-all is down here I'm going to put the stuff I grab often. Plus, I think it's at a good height if it's down here, like my chisels. Okay. I can come in and just kind of grab them. Things that we are going to move, we're going to move the dado stack over by the table saw. Makes more sense over there. I did like having it there, though. It didn't bother me. But we're not going to have the room to have it just kind of draping down. There's some other things that were over there. Pencils, some rubber gloves. Basically, all they do is collect dust. We're going to move all that stuff. I think that'll do much better in a container when I need to get to it, I'll just go get that container. Okay, so we're going to hang things back up. So basically, I'm just going to organize things how I think they're going to best work for me. This will be different in your shop. It's not going to be the same. And it shouldn't be the same. It should be different. So I'm going to organize it. You could watch me organize it, but that would make really, really boring video. So I'll catch you on the flip side and show you why I organize things a certain way. Okay, it's organized. I have my tape stuff up at the top. My saws are a little better spread around. I put my spare blade there. I basically swap it out. That's my good Hawk blade. I go from a Hawk blade to the old Stanley iron that I've put a camber on. So it's a nice place to rest that. My draw knife. Just go up there like that. So I can get to my tools easily. They're not real, they're not overly crowded. They're much more organized. And it's basically my hand tools and tape. In this bin I have the little things I use as my bench stops. They go nicely in there. I have my chisels down here. This stuff down here is the stuff I grab very often, my chisels and all that kind of stuff. So when I put the screw organizer down at the bottom, it's not going to become a catch-all because I need to grab this stuff all the time, so I'll tend not to put stuff there. And if it becomes a catch-all, then I'll move this basket down to the bottom and move the chisels up. But I like how it's laid out. I look at it and it makes me very happy. It makes me very... yeah, it's not a dedicated tool cabinet. But for now, I mean, it's a cheap alternative. I mean, this pegboard stuff is not expensive. There is a lot of stuff that was on this that's not going back, and we're going to put that elsewhere. And I'll show you how much of this stuff really didn't make it back. These saw blades, the veneer, those patterns under that plane there, my dado stack, these French curves and stuff. They didn't make it back up. The gloves, the pencils behind my coffee, that kind of stuff didn't make it back up. I think there's a better place for all of that stuff. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put in one of these little storage tray things, right? One of these doohickeys. Organized our frequently used screws and stuff like that. I think this will be a vast improvement over how we normally did it. And I'll show you how we've done it in the past. Okay, this is how I currently store all my screws and nails and various hardware tidbits. Is it gets stored in this Tupperware bin. And if I need to find anything, I have to dig through it and find various. You can see this takes forever, especially since I really only use a handful on a regular basis. I think I can organize this in that case a whole lot better. Okay, that just mounts on the wall. Couple of screws to tighten it down. Real easy to mount. Okay, we organized all our screws. They're easily. I can take them out, bring them over to the table, move them around. Right? Good way to organize. Now, normally, one of the things I was kind of disappointed with this case from Stack-On, I think it was, they usually come with dividers, right? And you can use these dividers to separate to separate the compartment into two different things. Those are an add-on that I would have to go to the website and purchase the little pieces of plastic that go in here. And I saw that and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. So I took one of the plastic cases, some of the screws came in, and I cut it up on the bandsaw, stuck it down there. It works great. I was a little upset that they couldn't throw in some 3-cent plastic dividers. Yeah, it was like, that's kind of cheap. But I like the size of it. I like where it's at. It's gonna work. I still have empty drawers. Here's bits of that plastic that I'm using, but I like the size of it. It's gonna work really good. Now we're gonna go ahead and move on to something else that's been bothering me, is this cabinet. But I think it could be organized better. The cabinet itself I've been happy with. But things are kind of thrown in here, right? And I don't really have a place to store my hand planes. My hand planes just get thrown up here on top. Hard to see, hard to reach. Eventually, I think this will get replaced with a dedicated tool cabinet. But that might not happen for another year, maybe 2, until I can really, you know, build that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this side, because I have the room, into a plane caddy, right? And I can reposition then these 2 shelves to this side. So I'll have a plane caddy where I can store my planes, and then I have a little more shelves on the other side. And I think that'll help me keep things organized, with also keeping my planes pretty much in reach. So let's get started. We'll just start dismantling that and work our way down. I got my panel sled on right there. I have a piece of ply that I'm going to use to hold the planes in the cabinet. I'm going to go and rough cut it to kind of width, and then try to fit it and see where we stand. Go over and test the fit. Yeah. Alright. I'll keep taking cuts off until I can get it to fit in there. So I got it in, but one of the things I got to keep in mind is this is really only a temporary solution until I build my tool chest. So there's some drawbacks with this cabinet. It's not really deep enough to house some of my planes. So I'm going to have to figure out unique ways of holding some of them to get them in there. But I think it'll be more beneficial than the way I'm doing it now. If something is too big, like I can get my joiner in, and it will clear the door, but it's starting to get late. And I want to route and cut the dividers. Now I'm basically just going to use the scrap board I have. I'm going to go ahead. I got this board from the scrap bin, the cuts bin at Hearns Hardwood. I'm going to just go ahead, clean up an edge, and then I'm going to go ahead and route slight chamfer on it, and then I'm just going to keep cutting them small strips at the table saw. Okay, so this is just kind of it. I put these sticks in. They're just screwed in from the back. Tools are kind of heavy. I just have a small bungee cord in there kind of holding them in. I can easily kind of move the tools out, right? Kind of get them in. You know. Okay. Not the best solution, but it's kind of better than the haphazard way I've had them. So I'll go ahead and organize the other half. So I went ahead, I added 2 more shelves, which helps me utilize this space more. I basically put back a good majority of the stuff, and some of the stuff that was on the other side, like my respirator, my earplugs, got my safety stuff here. And then all the stuff that was really not needed over here, I'm moving. Like I was storing, these are drawer slides for some reason. They don't need to be in there. So I have, you know, my dry erase markers. It's pretty good. My sharpening jig. Everything seems to be pretty good. Even my old cat, Sundance. Look. That'd be Sundance. So, yeah, he was a fat cat. Much more organized, a much more better use of space. There's not so much dead space now that I have 2 more shelves in here. So, it's really good. And then the plain area, not perfect, but pretty good now. And the good thing about having the plain area in here right now is I plan on building that tool chest. So this will give me an idea of what works, what doesn't work, what I like, what I don't like, what I think I could use, what I don't need. It's kind of the trial run. One of the things that I've already known and didn't really give it much thought is these planes are upside down to give clearance for the door, because this is slope. So the farther up these are, the easier it is to close the door. Well, one of the things is it's much easier to come in and grab the plane like this, right? And just go to work and then put it back and grab your next plane, but that plane's upside down, so I gotta turn it, you know. So that's one of the things, you know, I'll keep in mind when I make my other plane till. But not too bad. It'll work for the time being. So next, we're going to take on the monstrous shelving units. I kind of hate them. They're good, but I just hate them. They're a catch-all. Let's go take a look. Okay, the next area for me is this kind of shelf workbench area. This was the original workbench that I put it out here before, even before I started woodworking out here. It was more as my just household workbench area. But then I knew once I started woodworking I could use it as shelves. It has become kind of a catch-all. There are some aspects to it I like. Down here, you can't see, right in this area, I have all my kind of handheld power tools. You know, my portable sark saw, everything that came in the kit. But they just kind of sit there and they collect dust. So basically what I need to do is I need to go ahead and clean it out, pull everything out, dust everything, sand everything, which makes for boring video. So we'll catch up on the more of the organization stuff after I'm done cleaning this out. Okay, so I cleaned it up, dusted everything off, rearranged some things. I think it's going to work a lot better. I moved my glue tote up to a higher area, just kind of straighten things out. Now, I'm going to do something in another podcast to kind of minimize the dust that hits that area. But we'll talk about that later. Eventually I want to replace the whole thing. So one last thing I really want to tackle in this cleanup, and I'll show you what it is. Underneath my workbench I have storage, and it comes in handy. I keep my jigsaw under there, my old jigsaw. I keep my 10-inning jig and that kind of stuff over here. I want to clean it up a little though. Get rid of some of the stuff. And one of the things is I use these boards here to kind of act as the shelf. Now those boards are really just some leftover pressure treated lumber that I used for an outside project. They work fine except for they fall down easily if you go to drag something up. So I'm actually going to screw them in, one screw on each side, and just screw them into the to this rail, and that will kind of do a pretty good job in keeping them from moving around. Okay, so basically I pulled everything out, cleaned it, drilled a shank hole and a countersink, and just drove a screw on each end of these boards, and that'll keep them from sliding around. Nothing fancy, 2-inch screws. I countersink sunk them so stuff wouldn't get caught on them, but it just took me a couple minutes and solved a problem of them just sliding around. I originally planned to put something else down there, and that was a temporary solution that wound up actually being kind of permanent. If I decide to change it out in the future, I can just go ahead and pull them out. Till next time, please check me out on iTunes, YouTube, Facebook, whatever you want to watch me on, I'm probably there. If I'm not on something that you normally watch, let me know. I can maybe try to get on there. But thanks for tuning in. Till next time, I'm Sean. You're watching The Internet Woodworker. Bye.